Okay, thank you. Yeah.
You mentioned your mother and your father in this Welsh language radical group of some kind.
Yeah.
Could you say any more about how that started and the end result of that, and how your parents finally, I suppose, are accepted again?
Yeah, well, when I was growing up, my parents were very active members of the Welsh Language Society. My father was chairman of the Welsh Language Society at one period, and the year after I was born, he was imprisoned, and because he was chairman of the Welsh Language Society, he was representing the society as part of their campaign for Welsh Language Channel, so that's the start of that campaign. And they sort of, they climbed up a mast under the protest, and himself and another guy were actually, sent to prison for 6 months for that. So my first memory, I suppose, is as a baby, growing up, and my father being very much involved in that. And my mother also, as you heard, was painting slogans. So I suppose a child of that kind of revolution, and as things got stronger and stronger, I suppose they get less involved, and now the younger people take over the Welsh Language Society. Of course, in those days, it was easier to target certain things. We didn't have a Welsh Language Channel. We didn't have these bilingual signs. There were visible sort of, if you like, representations of how we were being colonised, that they could actively go for, you could take down a sign, you could climb up a mast. But I think these days it's much more difficult for the Welsh Language Society to know, what they should be targeting. We're still kind of protesting, we're still involved in that dialogue. But of course, colonisation becomes more kind of covert, it becomes more complex and more sort of bilingual that we become. But certainly from my parents, I always have that kind of, I suppose, the courage of their convictions to really, to take both languages and be very, very proud of them, and know that not to take for granted the kind of freedom that I had to go to a Welsh language school, to grow up speaking Welsh, because it was something that for them was they had to battle for that right. So I think that's very much a part of my personal history and why I did a lot of the things I do.
Was that movement related to the movement for legislative power?
Well, yes, at the time that they were protesting for that, I suppose the devolution, pro-devolution campaigns were certainly a little bit separate from the Welsh Language Society, although they have the same kind of principles. So, the no vote of 79, they didn't get the devolution, was a huge disappointment to everybody in the Welsh Language Society. And of course, when we did get it to 97, that, they are linked, but they also stand a little bit separate from one another. That makes sense.
I remember the book Megatrends, trying to look from the 90s to 2000, talking about nationalism, and one of the examples was the emergence of the Welsh language.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the Welsh language, again, they're still campaigning, and they were very instrumental in that kind of development and move towards devolution. That was something they were battling for. But certainly they have many, many tries, because we got the Welsh Language Channel because of the Welsh Language Society. Gwynfor Evans in the 1980s was going to starve himself to death unless they gave us a channel, and we got one. So there are lots of different I suppose, processes that we went through. The Welsh Language Society did a huge part of how Welsh language has progressed in Wales.
So are you teaching in school?
Yes. The Welsh medium schools nearly everywhere in Wales, so you ended up getting Welsh language education in more or less in most schools up to the age of 16. But I went to a Welsh language school, and most people that I know do now as well, and a lot of English-speaking parents are sending their children to Welsh-speaking schools, so that's great, because you're seeing a shift then, aren't you? You're seeing a difference.
Is there any more, I call what your parents were doing subversive. Is there any more subversive action in Wales on issues that similar to what you described?
Yeah, there is still stuff happening, I think. The Welsh Language Society are still campaigning, and they're still protesting, and they're still getting arrested. There is that subversive.
And so what are they protesting about now?
Well, again, it's more to do with getting, even though we've got Welsh as an official language, we're still thinking about a stronger Welsh Language Act, if you like, more rights for Wales. And these are the kinds of things that even though we've achieved so much, we have these rights, we're still not where we want to be still. There's still stuff left to protest for. So yeah, there's still
Hi, my name is Barbara Barnes, and I'm the Vice President of the St. David's Society of Pittsburgh. Next year, for the 2009 Festival of Wales, Pittsburgh is proudly going to host the festival. We're really excited about it. We're really hoping that everybody who's attending here in Chicago this year will come and see us in Pittsburgh. We have a lot to show off about the city. I think you'll really, really enjoy it.
When did you
But we need to go against some of the strains of life that work against the justice, peace, and the love. We want to make it for that little girl right over there. Dance for us, you know. She's in the midst of early life. And so all that we have done this day, 4 hours of singing, praise to God. You won't find anybody else wherever you go that's done that today. 4 hours singing praise to God at the top of your voices and then softly asking for God's presence in the midst of your life.